Jim Lawson for Bourns Pro Audio, and we're here in the Bourns Pro Audio lab today making some application videos to show you a little bit about how to use and apply our expanding line of Pro Audio parts. We are going to do a guitar mod today. Today we're going to use an application that's going to show you our PDB183-GTR Guitar Potentiometers, which also have a push-pull switch on them. And we're going to install that into this PRS copy. And I'm going to show you a little bit about this particular application because we will be working in the cavity of the guitar, which I've already prepared. And it's a little bit different when you're working inside this as opposed to a pick guard. It's a little bit more challenging here and some different things to think about. And there's not a lot of space in here. So let's get down and get close to this, and we'll show you what we're talking about. So when we're doing a modification on a wood guitar, and the cavity that accepts the electronics is now down, hollowed out in here, and you can see this particular guitar, it has been cut out, and then even further cut out where the potentiometers and the switch go. The interesting part about this particular guitar is actually doing this does two things. It actually makes the distance that the potentiometer must go through before it protrudes to the face of the guitar less than if this wasn't hollowed out. The downside of this is it makes this little working area even smaller. So in this particular guitar we have a little bit of a challenge, and how I've sort of tried to mitigate that ahead of time in more planning and thinking ahead more than anything else is I decided to sort of prepare everything as far as I could outside of the guitar. So get everything hooked up here ahead of time. So then I can just take this assembly and put it in the guitar and finish my connections here. So you'll notice what I've prepared on the guitar is these are the pickup wires, and these are two humbucker pickups. So I've actually, in this particular application we're going to show you, I've actually got all of the start and finish of each of the poles of the humbucker already identified. I've got them stripped, I've got them tinned, and then this bare wire here is the ground. And the same thing goes true for the neck pickup. And then this wire, blue wire, happens to be the ground that's coming from the guitar bridge. And all of this stuff has got to hook into here. But I'm going to do that after I've put all of this assembly inside there. So let's talk about what we're doing here today. So I'm using a Model 95 premium guitar potentiometer, and this is going to be a volume control for the bridge pickup, and then this will be a volume control using the same Model 95 potentiometer for the neck pickup. This is the three-way switch, which you will typically find on a two humbucker type guitar, so that it allows the player to select from the bridge pickup, the neck pickup, or both of them at the same time. So that becomes part of the circuit. Now the PDB183-GTR potentiometer that we're actually doing this application note about is going to give me, in this particular hookup mode, it's going to give me the ability to take this guitar, and by the simple use of pulling the shaft of this up, we can now have the humbucker be in a single pole mode. That's this application. So in the down position we have straight two humbucker guitar. We can select from either pickup, and when we lift this up I can turn both pickups into single coils. So now I've got the ability to have a completely different set of sounds coming out of this guitar, which is set up with two humbuckers without changing your pickups. So it's quite simple of an application here. The connections we have all set and shown on our website for this particular application. And what I've done again is ahead of time I've made some connections to this potentiometer and switch, so I didn't have to do that in that cavity. So you notice at this point is an opportunity for you to change the value or the type of or both of your tone control capacitor. And that's completely up to the listener or the player's choice. But I've already gone ahead and installed ahead of time this particular capacitor in the tone control circuit. If you'll note, I have also used solder lugs on here just because I need a place to solder to. There are no metal parts inside this cavity, so every ground connection we've got to provide a place to do that too. This particular potentiometer and switch has some metal body areas, and I've actually used that. In this case, I can actually solder to that metal body, and I've done that with this other capacitor lead. When we're getting this particular part ready, you want to use a nice pencil-tipped soldering iron. The temperature should be around 700 degrees. You get that either from an adjustable soldering station or by buying the tip on the soldering iron at 700 degrees, and it will automatically stay there once it's hot. So I get the tip clean by wiping it across a damp sponge, and I'm going to get the body of this potentiometer hot. And you need to be careful on how long you stay here. There will be a time where you'll be able to get the solder to flow, and you get the flowing going. You see a nice silver shiny solder joint, and then get out. So in this particular potentiometer, I can actually solder to this surface. This is actually a solder tab right here, which I've used for another part of the connection. This happens to be the input jack is where I'm going to go with this. This is a shielded wire, so the shield becomes the ground, and I've actually used that ground tab right there and soldered to it the same way I just showed you we solder over here. And then this is the hot lead going in right here to this terminal of this potentiometer, and then onwards. Now, conversely to this potentiometer, on a Model 95 Premium, there is no place to solder. This is entirely plastic. So again, I've used the provided solder lug as a place where we get solder, where we actually connect ground to. So I've got a ground circuit going on here from the body of this, which comes in from the jack. I now have everything that's metal on this is now ground. So I pick up the solder tab here, which is now part of the circuit, and I bring a ground line over here to this solder tab here, which grounds the potentiometer's bushing. I carry on over here to the three-way switch, which has a ground tab on it. You could also solder to this, but I recommend staying if there's a tab. Use the tab and don't try not to do the body. And then over here to this one, and then there will be a last connection, which will actually be the connection over here in the guitar that will connect the ground system through here to the bridge of the guitar and then the strings of the guitar, and we'll have a nice complete ground circuit. It will keep the guitar quiet. Alright, so now we're going to start installing this pre-assembled circuitry back into the guitar. I'm going to start with the PDB183-GTR push-pull potentiometer. I'm going to put it in the hole here. So now that I have the PDB183 pot installed here, you see that it protrudes only a little bit from the surface of the guitar, and I've done that on purpose, and that is in order so that we make sure that when the knob gets put on, it is not too high off the body of the guitar, and we have a large gap between the bottom of the knob and the top of the guitar, and it's not too far in so that the knob will actually rub on the guitar and ruin your surface. And in this case, we also have to account for the fact that we're going to be using this potentiometer as a switch. So I'm going to go up and down. So you had to do a little bit of work here, but in any event, when we're ready, we're going to use this nut, the supplied nut that goes on here, to secure this potentiometer now back in its place into the guitar. Now, as far as tightening down this potentiometer, you want to make sure that it's tight enough that it doesn't turn the entire body of the potentiometer as you would adjust the knob. You don't want to make it too tight. You can damage the potentiometer. In the case of this particular application, you can damage the surface of the guitar. If you want to measure it, it's probably something in the order of 15 to 18 inch-pounds. Since I don't have a torque wrench here, I'm just going to use my 3/8 box wrench, and it's going to be by feel. I'm just going to get it snug enough where I feel it grip. It's tight enough that it's not going to go in circles, and it's just going to hold it there, and it's not going to loosen itself over the course of time and usage. So just tight enough. Not damage the surface of the guitar at all. So once you have all the wires soldered and everything back together, you plug your guitar in, try it out. This push-pull switch that we have installed on here, again, as a reminder, this particular application will take the humbuckers and turn them into a single coil, so you get a nice bright tone, similar to a Stratocaster type guitar. So kind of a neat modification. There's a whole lot of other things that can be done with this double pole, double throw switch. We picked this one today as a start. We'll be making some more application videos in the future. You can come by and see them on the Bourns website at www.bourns.com/pro-audio. You can find that application notes there and any data sheets for all of the products that we've used today. And thanks so much for watching the video today. And this is Jim Lawson for Bourns Pro Audio saying happy playing.